This is the video recording for the U.S. History Part B, Unit 1 Modified Test. In this recording, I'm going to be reading over the questions for the test and the answer options, as well as the directions. For this test, you want to answer questions 1 through 31 and highlight the correct answer that you see by using your highlighting tool in your Microsoft Word document. You can choose basically any color that you want, but try to keep it a light one like yellow or one of these turquoise options or green. Okay. If there is a line provided with the question, make sure that you type the correct answer option on the line if there is one. Question 32 is made up of or three short answer questions. Please don't forget to do this portion of the test. It's actually worth 20 points, and that's a significant portion of your grade. Make sure to submit this test once you're done to your instructor through Kmail. Make sure that you save the document to your computer with all your answers typed onto the document directly, and then submit it through Kmail. Make sure that your name is on the top of the document as well. The due date for this assignment, the test is actually scheduled for November 19th. Be sure to have it completed no later than November 26th, or there will be a 0 placed in the gradebook with an INC, which is short for incomplete. You can replace a 0 INC in the gradebook for full credit, but again, remember, once you start accumulating those zeros, it gets very difficult to catch up. So you definitely want to make sure it's done before November the 26th. So let's get started with our questions here. Number one is, what happened to the populations of the cities in the period between the Civil War and the 1920s? They remained about the same, they declined due to disease, or they grew because of job opportunities. I mistakenly clicked on that when I was moving in there, so don't take that as the answer. I just clicked on it by accident. Number two, why did many immigrants choose to live in cities as they entered the United States in the late 1800s or early 1900s? Cities reminded them of home. They wanted to participate in city politics, or jobs, family, and friends were there. Number three, which had the greatest impact of the growth of cities and the expansion of cities to suburbs? Was it transportation innovations, political changes, or leadership from mayors? Number four, which group contains entertainment or amusements that developed in the late 1800s and early 1900s? So remember, these inventions all have to be developed within this time period. If any one was developed later or earlier than that, it would not make sense for the option. Group A options are baseball, vaudeville, the Ferris wheel, and movies. Group B options are football, the circus, the cyclone, and television. Number five, which was not an element of the urban social stratification in the cities of the late 1800s? Was it class, gender, or ethnicity? Number six, which was not an activity of political machines? Accepting bribes in exchange for favors, awarding jobs and contracts to friends, or using almost all contributions for charity? Number seven, what was Tammany Hall in New York City? Was it a municipal building, a settlement house, or the Democratic political machine? Number eight, how was Jane Addams a leader in the late 1800s and early 1900s? She implemented the social gospel by founding the Salvation Army. She was the first woman elected to serve in the Senate. She started Hull House, which became a model for other reformers. Number nine, what American urban movement was established to assist the poor? People's palaces, settlement houses, or Gilded Age? 10. Which goal of the Populist Party led to its early popularity? System of national banks, coinage of silver, or political power for the upper class? Number 11. Why is the Populist Party generally regarded as a failure by historians? It advocated an income tax that became highly unpopular. It looked to the future and was too far ahead of its time. It did not address the realities of an industrial economy and could not endure. Number 12, what was the relationship between the Populist Party and William Jennings Bryan? The Populists supported Bryan in his failed presidential race, the Populist campaigned against Bryan because he opposed their reforms, or Bryan had little influence on the party. Number 13, what progressive organization had a goal of providing food and shelter to the slum dwelling poor? Was that the Salvation Army, the Social Gospel, or the Booth Believers? Number 14, which was one of the goals for some advocates of the progressive movement? Laissez faire economy, welfare, or conservation? Number 15, what name was given to the group of investigative journalists who uncovered corruption in business and government in the late 1800s and early 1900s? Were they the muckrakers, the socialists, or the progressives? What are what are Upton Sinclair and Lincoln Steffens known for doing? Serving as mayors of Chicago, New York, and Philadelphia, exposing corruption in business or government, or forming alliances that helped farmers with their credit problems. Number 17, what did Ida M. Tarbell's investigations reveal? Violations in the meatpacking industry, brutal working conditions in mines and on railroads, or John D. Rockefeller's corrupt practices at Standard Oil. Number 18, which Midwestern governor served as a progressive model for other governors by implementing the Wisconsin Way? Robert La Follette, Tommy Thompson, or Julius Heil? Number 19, which was one reform of the progressive movement? Election of mayors instead of hiring city managers, direct election of U.S. senators, or elimination of recall elections? Number 20, which president promoted a program of new nationalism that included conservation and national parks? Theodore Roosevelt, William McKinley, or Woodrow Wilson? Number 21, which president advocated a new freedom agenda that included a gradual income tax? Was that Theodore Roosevelt, William Howard Taft, or Woodrow Wilson? Number 22, what was Theodore Roosevelt's political party affiliation? Progressive and Whig, Democrat, Republican, and Progressive? Number 23, what agricultural system trapped many Southern blacks in a cycle of debt and poverty despite their hard work? Sharecropping, the crop lien system, or homesteading? What was not something that promoted segregation and limited the rights of blacks? Crop liens, Jim Crow laws, literacy tests? Which 1896 Supreme Court decision approved segregation of blacks as long as separate but equal facilities were provided? Was that Plessy versus Ferguson, Brown versus Board of Education, or Madison versus Marbury? Number 26, what was one of Booker T. Washington's important achievements? Becoming the first black congressman, the founding of the NAACP, or the founding the Tuskegee Normal and Industrial Institute? Actually, that's pronounced Tuskegee. Tuskegee. I always say it incorrectly. 27. Who was the first African American to earn the PhD or earn a PhD from Harvard? Was that Harriet Tubman, W.E.B. Du Bois, or Augustus Hawkins? Number 28. Who founded the United Negro Improvement Association that stressed the need for black owned business? Was that Marcus Garvey, Robert Johnson, or Paul Laurence Dunbar? Number 29, who was not a leader in the women's suffrage movement? Helen Kendrick Johnson, Elizabeth Cady Stanton, or Susan B. Anthony? Back down to number 30, who employed a flexible state-by-state strategy to promote women's suffrage? Was that Carrie Chapman Catt, Alice Paul, or Harriet Stanton Blatch? Number 31, Which president endorsed the passage of the 19th Amendment, which gave women the right to vote? Was that William McKinley, Theodore Roosevelt, or Woodrow Wilson? For number 32, you're going to have a couple of shorter answers here, and it starts out with kind of an explanation about the social gospel and social Darwinism. It starts off by saying Yale University professor William Graham Sumner was an advocate or supporter of social Darwinism. Sumner said the aggregation of large fortunes is not at all a thing to be regretted. On the contrary, it is a necessary condition of many forms of social advance. Millionaires are the product of natural selection. The Salvation Army advocated the social gospel. Advocated means to support. So the Salvation Army advocated the social gospel, a very different concept from social Darwinism. Arthur Charles M. Sheldon asked his readers to consider, what would Jesus do in regards to society's problems? That was kind of the basis behind the social gospel. So you can see what William Graham Sumner is talking about up here with social Darwinism is very different than the social gospel down here. In the directions for this question, it's going to ask you to define social Darwinism in your own words. Do not copy a definition out of the book or off of the internet. You also want to define the social gospel concept in your own words. So, social Darwinism and social gospel, those two concepts you're going to define for 5 points each. The third part, you're going to explain how the responsibility of success in each concept changes. So, who's responsible for the success of an individual in social Darwinism or for a company or whatever they're talking about? And who's responsible for success in the gospel, in the social gospel concept? That portion of the question is worth 10 points. The total points for number 32 is 20. The total amount of points for the test is 131. Once you've completed the test, please make sure that you save your answers, save it to your computer, and submit it back to me in Kmail. Good luck on your Unit 1 test. I look forward to seeing your work.